on sports. All right, we are here tonight with our second episode of the week, what I like to call the lightning round episode. I'm here tonight with Gary Scarface Kinn. We'll not use that one. Let's do this. Chris General Patton Fletcher. All right, that's respectful.
Yeah.
Don't make me slap you guys. I'm going to slap you.
You got those big boots on, Fletch. You got those boots he had in the end there during the soliloquy. Those big boots he wore.
You know, that's a movie that I will watch anytime it's on TV.
I agree. That is a classic. That is a classic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be Dave Troll Finola.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Popular current word in
the
all
troll.
Yeah.
For my long, at one point in time, as I was going through my hair, what I like to call my hair midlife crisis, I had hair down with the balding head. The hair down, a troll-like long hair do there. I'll
think you should go back
at some point. I know you're probably looking forward to it, Fletch.
You should go back to it.
I had a tail at one time, and one time I was also mistaken for Thomas Dolby. So, you know, I've got no room to say anything.
All right. Well, you know, we had a couple of good things come across. We had boxing in Monroeville last week, Air.
Yeah.
We had a bout between two, shall we say, not Charles Atlas-like bodies in the heavyweight division. But yet it was very entertaining.
The heavy and heavyweight, Dave.
They did. 260 pounds. That's a heavyweight.
Oh yeah.
Why don't we hear about that from our man Gare as I down a little ice cream.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, it's interesting. You know, the Monroeville card was pretty. It was interesting. You know, I mean, the crowd was one of the quietest boxing crowds, at least coming across on, you know, UFC Fight Pass that I've ever seen. So I couldn't tell how well attended it was. I don't think it was marketed particularly well out there, unfortunately. But you know, I think both of the top fighters that were on that card did what they were expected to do. I mean, you know, the first Ivan Golub is a decorated amateur as well. He's a Ukrainian decorated amateur. He's being trained by Andre Rozier, who's one of the best trainers in New York City. It's probably wise with Lou DiBella, who was one of the co-promoters out there. You know, he looked very, very good. He's in there with an opponent that had, you know, 35 pro fights, 23 knockouts. I hadn't heard of this guy before. You know, a lot of his fights are in South America, but Golub did exactly what he was supposed to do. I thought Gary Rosado, who's probably the most prominent official in Pennsylvania now, the referee, I thought he stopped it a little quick, but it was going to happen anyway. But I thought Golub looked pretty good. And, you know, that Fight Pass is not something that can be underrated as far as boxing is concerned. You know, White sold something like 1,000,001 subscriptions to that. So, and he wants to get into boxing, I think, in addition to the stuff he does with the MMA. So, you know, the fact that was on there and the fact that it was in Pittsburgh, probably a good thing in the long run. I mean, I think they got to upgrade. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but on TV, the Monroeville Convention Center looked very dated, very dark. You know, I mean, you can't have that if you're going to try to get other shows there. You need to do something for that, I think, beyond just boxing, but other stuff.
Were there people there?
It wasn't. You couldn't tell. It was so dark around the ring, Dave. You couldn't tell. It did not sound like it was heavily attended because it was so quiet. Like even during some of the, you know, the fights that they did have, the 4 or 5 fights they had, a couple of them were not very good, but that's not that uncommon even in big time boxing these days. But, you know, I thought the Golub fight was interesting. There was a prospect on there by the name of Victor Padilla from New York, who's also promoted by DiBella, who looked very, very good. And I thought Keetroff, the guy who was the main eventer here, and it's hard to figure out exactly what's wrong here with Keetroff because he was a quarterfinalist in the Olympics in 2012 as a welterweight. As a pro, he's 18-2 with 15 knockouts, but he's just not getting any big-time opponents. He looked a little heavy and a little disinterested to me. but he also did what he was supposed to do. Now he's fighting now at 168, which is a lot different than starting out as a pro at 147. So it might be something outside the ring, but he's very, very good. And to get fighters like Golub and Kucherov out there is probably a good thing. Hopefully that'll continue to work with that Congreb boxing, Dave. I mean, I thought the card overall was pretty good for a local regional show, and it had some big names on it. DiBella didn't appear at all in the broadcast, which means he probably didn't go out there. I wish he would have, because he's a pretty good promoter, pretty good speaker, Harvard guy. He didn't. I wish that would have been the case, but all in all, I mean, I was pretty satisfied with it. I think, and I think the fact that it was on Fight Pass is actually a good thing.
But it was embarrassingly promoted. I was very stunned at that because I did not. It was Tuesday when you told me about it.
Yeah.
I mean, Congreb, I mean, they promote the hell out of their fights. I mean, when there's a fight, the fighters. I was stunned. Did you know about it, Fletch?
I didn't hear about it till the day before.
Yeah. I can't figure out exactly why that is. Now, DiBella is in New York, and he's got his hands still in a lot of bigger time guys like Wilder, even Deontay Wilder. I can't exactly figure out what happened. Maybe it had to come together quickly. I know some of those guys are training out there, which is not surprising to me, with Ukrainian and Eastern Europe background, but both the terrain, and there's a lot of the people of that, background and ethnic background out there. I think a lot of it makes some sense. But yeah, hopefully they can coordinate that a little bit better in the future, because it just felt like it was so quiet. Not that boxing is roaring all the time, particularly a lot of these undercard fights where nobody knows anybody, but it was so quiet. It just felt like it must have been pretty empty around the perimeter, and that's a shame. But, unfortunately, boxing is a disorganized business. But all in all, the fights were pretty good. If you're getting that kind of fighter out there, I think, honestly, there's a chance.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, I wish, had I known, I would have changed my schedule around to be there, and I'm sure you would have too, Fletch.
I joined you.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
But
yep. I mean, the heavyweight fight was not a great fight. People overuse that word today.
The Tubagoo Championship?
I mean, I'm sorry?
The Tubagoo Championship?
I mean, people use the word great all the time. Even Dan Raphael, I guess maybe because he works for my favorite network in ESPN. But, I mean, the fact they threw a lot of punches was interesting for heavyweights. I mean, I honestly felt that they threw a lot of punches because neither guy was in shape enough, including Karnashki, who I think is a better prospect than even he showed that night.
Yeah.
Neither guy was really in shape and got out of the way of the other, but it is funny now because Ruiz won. Ruiz is a far better fighter than both of those guys.
Yes, I would agree.
That's one thing that, I think people need to realize.
He's got that hand speed for a big guy, too.
He can move. He's got very good hand speed. He's got good head movement. I mean, I think Karnashki has potential. He's got to get in a little bit better shape. And honestly, you can't come face forward like that. I mean, Chris Arreola, although a big guy, is not really a big banger as he got to the heavy levels of competition. You do that against some of these other guys, you're going to be out, and you're going to be out quick. But, it was still, at least it got the attention. 2,000 punches is a lot for heavyweights. Heavyweights ruled the whole thing, so it was very good from that standpoint. And, it was on free television, which never really hurt.
That doesn't hurt.
Right, that doesn't hurt. So there's some bigger ones coming up. There's Sergey Kovalev and Lomachenko. We'll do a show next week where I'll talk about some of these things. I think there's some very interesting and very, very good fighters coming up on ESPN in late August. And there's an MMA bout between Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic, which he's a firefighter in Cleveland still, and he's a tremendous MMA heavyweight. They fought 18 months ago, and Cormier won. They've been yapping at each other ever since. I think Cormier probably wins again, but they're going to go on pay-per-view on the 17th of August. And in the MMA business, that's a big time scrap. So we'll talk about that a little bit before it happens next week. So.
Good. Now, Fletch, some have called you a footman. Do you remain that way this week?
Well, guys, thank God Antonio Brown is gone. I mean,
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, we're gonna miss the production, but we're not gonna miss the drama. And this week, thankfully, we were spared from being under assault by an image that surely would have made the front page of the Post-Gazette or the Trib had they printed that actual day. But we just didn't have to see the gruesome picture of AB's feet. And But, unfortunately, I did see them. And Brown has serious blister issues that kept him from practicing with the Raiders. Guys, it looks like the skin is literally falling off the bottom of his feet. And as an aside, this is the reason why I don't eat fresh coconut, because I think that's what that actually comes from. But anyway. Yeah, there's something about Brown and foot injuries. I think he has like a foot injury fetish. Remember a couple of years ago when he had that toe injury and he was posting photos of it? Pretty gruesome stuff there. But, apparently he went to see a specialist, and he should be ready to find another way to be disruptive by the start of the season.
Of course.
No, you know what caused the foot injury.
Oh, please. No, what?
He was doing his cryogenic therapy on his feet, failing to properly protect them from the brutal cold.
Are you kidding? Wow, I didn't hear you that part of it.
I just pulled that up online. That is what caused his foot injury.
Wow. Well, the folks at HBO got to be loving this with Hard Knocks because they'll have to call this one the agony of defeat.
Uh,
can this guy possibly not find some reason to get somebody sticking a camera on his? Is this for real with this clown?
Oh, I saw the picture, man. It's real.
Oh yeah.
But this guy is such a whore for attention. It's just unbelievable. Did he really need to get? I'm sure he was an instigator in getting this out there.
Well, I'm sure. And then there's the other former distraction, Le'Veon Bell, who had his press conference where he apologized to all the fantasy owners who drafted him last year.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was heartfelt.
It was. He's also missed a lot of practice, and he's getting pulled to get drug tested. That's what happens when you are away for a year. They're going to pull you for that. And he's also on some sort of pitch count almost sort of thing. Maybe Clint Hurdle is a coach at the Jets. But he's on a pitch count.
Well, he and Hines Ward were very close in Pittsburgh, so.
Oh, my goodness.
Might have learned a little thing from him.
And our remaining diva, Ben, well, ESPN has named Ben one of the players who has the most to prove coming into this NFL season. I agree. He has something to prove, and he already has the benefit of not having to look at AB's feet, so he has that going for him. It's just AB is just to me. We're going to lose some production, no question about it.
Yeah.
But this might be an addition by subtraction sort of thing. I think that. They're going to have enough weapons, and Ben's not going to have to feel that he has to force the ball into AB at least 4 or 5 times a game. And whoever's running patterns is going to be actually running the correct pattern for a change. So I think all in all, it's a plus.
Well, I think there's some depth at wide receiver that perhaps they didn't have. Nobody's in AB's area right now, including Juju, because Juju's got to prove
right.
He could be a number one receiver. So the fact everybody's putting him in the fantasy ratings above Brown at this point is just laughable at this point.
Yeah.
Because he's got to prove he can handle what AB handled. If he does, and there's no reason to say he can't, this could be a dangerous receiving core at that point. Plus, you have the advantage of, in my mind, now having what could potentially be your best defense in years.
Well, let's hope. They've made a special emphasis during this camp on takeaways. They were brutal last year at taking the ball away. A lot of, when they were in the right position, they were knocking the ball down or they were dropping potential game-changing interceptions, which really led to them missing the playoffs.
Right.
If they can actually get some turnovers this year, they're going to be better.
Well, and that's the point. Yes, clearly, taking the personality out of it, hard to like anything about either one of those two for me. Again, I don't live out there like you guys do, but hard to like anything about them. But taking the personality out of it, they're both productive threats. So the Steelers are going to have to do something about that. Connor seemed to wear down, so they got to get him some help back there, I thought. You know, I mean, he's big, but he's not that big. He seemed to wear down the second half. He's getting a lot of nagging injuries.
Yeah.
Schuster's not as fast. They do have some other depth there. They're going to have to spread the ball around. But, I mean, the problem that really was the biggest problem last year to me, particularly in the first part of the season, was it couldn't stop anybody, couldn't tackle anybody.
Well, I think you're going to find Devin Bush is going to be the pill that defense needed.
But, I mean, my point is offensively, they were productive without these guys for all year, and the other one for long stretches because he just felt like pouting.
And that's why I think you're going to see the difference, because sports is math. You increase your point differential, you win. It's not a basis of, well, my offense might not be what it is, but if your defense is much improved, which I think this defense could be, that's the kind of player I think Devin Bush is going to be.
Yep.
Just like Ryan Shazier did. And this guy, as good as Ryan Shazier is, this guy has potential to be much better. He's
bigger.
Yeah.
He's bigger than Ryan Shazier, so that's a key.
And he's as athletic, if not more.
Well, that was a good pick. I mean, I was glad to see that they made that move.
Yeah, and I like what I think with Benny Snell backing up Connors. I mean, Benny Snell has been a nice surprise in camp so far. But at Kentucky, he was probably my favorite back in college football. I was stunned the Steelers had an opportunity to draft him.
I mean, I feel that's going to be a
play football.
To me, not to know these guys like you do and not seeing them as much as you guys do, that's going to be a critical thing. Because Connor was fantastic, but he wore down and he got really dinged up. And they didn't have anybody to go to. So, you know, that's a critical part. But, I mean, people, you know, if they take their personality out of it both ways, both – glad these clowns are gone, less distraction, more focus on what you're trying to do, which I think is a big factor over the course of a long year like that, particularly when you spend that much time together. I don't think you have to be buddies, but on the other hand, these two are such huge distractions. Who needs it? Okay, in a highly competitive sport like that, highly competitive athletes like that. And the other thing is, the problem was not on the offensive side. The problem was on the other side. So if they fix that, they hypothetically should be every bit as competitive as they were last year, if not a little more.
And here's the fallacy with going with an offensive philosophy. Name me a Steelers Super Bowl champion that did not have a good to great defense.
Most teams that win the title in football have a pretty damn good defense, at least for that year. Yep.
You keep a team off the board, and you have an offense that will score enough points to win a game. That's how you win Super Bowls.
And you can run the ball in bad weather.
Yep.
And that's what Benny Snell was going to give you.
Yep.
He is a tough, grinding back that he can keep drives alive and keep time of possession alive.
He's got good genes for a running back, too.
One of your favorites.
One of my favorites.
Absolutely.
Snell, yes. And him and Emerson Boozer. Now that, my friends, was a backfield.
Oh, that was a bruising backfield.
Both houses. I mean, unfortunately, we're not going to get away from looking at somebody's bad toenails or blisters or that putting this fool on with this balloon entry. I mean, what is the point of that? Who cares? Okay, like, why does the media have to do this stuff?
So, Gary, what you're saying, it's like a sort of cold cut, is it not?
It's just never going to stop. I mean, I think I guess I better get used to it.
What cold cut are you talking about, Gary? What is it?
I'd like to cut all communication about this clown until the.
He's missing.
I think the Italian name is more.
What's Gary? What's Gary?
What am I?
Put the sign up.
I'm a bitter man on sports.
Put the sign up, Fletch.
I'm a busher. I hope I'm not a busher. I think the pusher is somebody coming into the campus.
Podcast is going to be disappointed in Gary.
Mom on the right is going to say,
Mom on the right is going to be mad, Gary.
I was looking for some baloney from Gary.
I know.
But, I mean, do we really need to hear all this stuff about this guy? I mean,
Say it. Baloney. Baloney. Oh, man. I'll tell you.
Some guys apologizing to all the fantasy owners because the world is upset that last year they didn't make the money because he didn't play. Hey, Le'Veon, I got news for you. They moved on to whoever was next on the list.
Say it.
You fool.
Your cousin Fran looks forward to one thing all week.
Say the word, Gary.
Baloney. Frickin' baloney.
Yes.
Oh,
I
man,
mean,
you're exhausted trying to coax that out of him.
Oh, I am.
the
You know, I
ego
was
of
all
that is
fired up
just
to talk
unbelievable.
about the Pirates, and now I feel exhausted.
Well,
I'm
maybe
sorry I exhausted you, Dave.
and Dave.
Oh, let me tell you. First, let me talk about the future of the guys on the team. It ain't as bad as we think.
No, I don't. I agree.
You got Diaz, who I think is a quality catcher. Josh Bell, who, Lord knows when he can get his head out of the behind, is going to be a very solid first baseman. You got Newman at second next year. You got Tucker at short. Tucker, I love, great defensively. Brian Hayes has won 2 defensive minor leaguer player of the year awards. And he could be a solid hitter, every bit as good as Moran. Moran goes to your utility guy. Frazier becomes irrelevant, a bench player who's good. I think Reynolds is a superstar in the making. Martin is going to be a solid number 4 guy in your outfield. If not hopping in at if Polanco doesn't make it back, I'd certainly feel comfortable with him there. So you have a decent edge there. You have Brault, you have Tyon, you have Williams. Those can make you 3. If Musgrove, again, gets his head out of his behind a little. Archer, you probably lost, so you're looking for a number 5 guy there.
Yeah, I'm okay with it, I think.
But let me tell you, what you don't have is a manager who knows how to do a friggin' bullpen, okay? Now, again, he's not given the pieces by management, and you got to feel sorry for him there. But you're in a damn game. You've come back. You've fought back. You're down by a run at that point. And what do? You put friggin' Jeff Hartlieb in the game instead of Vasquez, who's hardly giving your team a chance to win. It's almost as if we're trying to see if a 7.71 ERA guy has a chance to make the team next year. The idea is to win these damn games. You're a major league team, and you're playing experiment in the bullpen that you've blown this lead in an incredible collapse that rivals the 2012 collapse, if not worse.
I think worse. Yeah, worse.
Shame on Neil Huntington for not making the adjustments when you're in and getting the pieces when you're in the pennant race. When you have a payroll that's so low, it's ridiculous, and not making those adjustments. And, yeah, you got some quad A players, but you know what? This bullshit of not wanting to waste a guy who's not in a save – your save percentage completion this year is 56%.
Yeah, it's horrible.
6%.
Horrible.
You want to make the playoffs unless you have an offense like the Dodgers that can take you there or a starting rotation. You want to make the playoffs, you need to be in the 70, 75%. The Cleveland Indians have not as much talent as the Pirates on their 25-man roster. But what they do is they know how to develop pitchers. We do not. They know how to get their play. They manage the game to win the game. They don't manage it, it's not a save situation. I'm not going to put this guy in at this point.
Right.
I mean, you need to show your guys, hey, I believe in you. We're in this game. Let's try to win it. And put your best guy out there and give it your best. Every game Hartlieb is going to give up runs, okay? Archer is going to give up home runs. Just like he does that, Hartlieb is going to give up runs. Liriano is done. He's toast for the year. He's out there tonight, gave up the lead again. So quit playing games. Try to win you're at the major league level. You're playing it like you're at the minor league level, trying to see who can survive on a bunch of guys that are never going to be pennant-winning players. I mean, why should people care if you don't care? What's the plan? What are you doing to get the farm system back in shape? What are you doing to change your philosophy to get your pitchers to pitch to their strengths rather than hit the contact? Yeah. What are you doing to get these guys in the pennant? Great. Huntington says it's his fault. Love the honesty. But you know what? The honesty with no plan to get yourself out is ridiculous.
It doesn't matter.
What does it matter? Exactly. What does it matter if it's your fault?
And where's Mitch Keller? Why isn't he up here?
There's no reason.
There really is no reason.
He's pitching the best he has all year at AAA. You've screwed him up by having him being developed by your organization. So get him up here. He's not going to get any more screwed up. I mean,
I'm with you.
Why are we being the minor leagues at the major league level? You try to win every game, every night. I don't care how out of it you are.
Well, I mean, particularly when you're sliding like this. I mean, there was 20,000 there on a Saturday the other day. I mean, people just completely turned off because they're seeing the same stuff, even though they're not paying as much attention or as detailed as we're talking about.
Right. I mean, a lot of it, you put it on the players, and that's fine. It's their responsibility. But when you're managing the bullpen at that point, I mean, to me, that's the money that a manager is worth.
Yep. Listen, the fact that he survived the 2-15 spurt just –
I'm stunned.
Tells you everything.
I'm stunned. I mean, I'm rather stunned at that myself. But – there must be, it's either what they're paying them, it's not that much, or who knows. I don't know, but I'm stunned. I mean, how many times do you see that in Major League Baseball? Never. You go 4-17, you're usually gone.
It could be the game plan he's given, because we know that managers in today's game are given a game plan by the general manager. So that could be the reason. I mean, we don't know, But
I agree. I mean, I don't understand. Vasquez has worked less this year than any of the previous three.
Yeah.
And I don't understand when you got a game that you can win it. Like, this stupid-ass slavish to rules. And you're right. Like, Francona never gets enough credit for that. I mean, he is willing to make changes and bring guys in the 7th inning or the 8th inning and mix guys and match guys in that bullpen. And you're right. I mean, you look at that Cleveland Indians roster, there's no way – that league's a little less balanced. 4 or 5 teams are just horrible in the American League. Yeah. But, that team is not – clearly the Pirates have more talent in the starting 8 than the Indians do. And the Indians got 63 wins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, something's mismatched there. Like, there's just something not right there.
Yeah.
And you'd be looking right up the road of the turnpike and saying, well, what are they doing? Like, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it either.
It's ridiculous, and that's what I say. Why should we care? I mean, and I'm going to care because I've cared for 50-some years. But if they don't care, why should the fans? I mean,
they would say they do care, but I agree. It certainly doesn't come across that way. I mean, I do think the futures – a lot of things went wrong this year, which, pitchers do have a step back. Musgrove, Williams, a clear step back. Still like what I see of those guys when they're right. Archer, I think – I remember last year, and I'm not saying I'm claiming Perdeka, but he was giving up a ton of home runs in Tampa, and he wasn't striking out the same amount of guys. He's not a big guy.
Yeah.
And he's obviously – mentally, he's not that bright either. Keeps trying to throw the ball by people. He can't do that anymore.
Okay? Well, it's a trade that killed the franchise because you're minor league. And that's to my point of the talent is there potentially at the major league level, but when you get injuries, you have nothing to plug in because – you let the minor league system go to hell.
Right.
Agreed. But I do think – I like what I see in Newman. He can clearly play a regular second base. He probably can play shortstop. I think Tucker will probably be okay. Certainly good defensive player. Offensively may struggle a little bit. Reynolds is a find. What a draft that was, or trade rather for that. They stole that. I mean, that's going to look like a great trade if this continues. Now, it's only 1 year. He may have a slip back. But a lot of things are in place, and I think they're a lot better than they've shown. But I'm just stunned. I like Hurdle personally, but you go 4-17. I don't see how you can keep that in place.
He's a good manager, and I'm not sure that this is in Huntington's game plan. But you don't know that. We don't know that.
We
but
don't.
Whatever it is, you got to try to win the damn game and quit trying to figure out whether a guy with a 7.71 ERA has a place on this team. He does not, because if he does, you're 15 games under 500.
But, and he would have been here long ago if he was, he had a place. Right. That's exactly
right. I digress. We're going to go quickly into our prediction round. Fletcher.
Well, guys, there's a big battle going on right now between AT&T / DirecTV and CBS. They've for about a month and a half or so, we've had no CBS on DirecTV. So I know, Dave, that would be a problem for you.
Oh, yeah.
be no Hawaii Five-0 for you. There'd be no Big Bang Theory or Good Wife. But, you know, I'm sure you'd make it.
Is The Bachelor on Channel 2 in Paradise?
That's Channel 4, I think.
Is that a Channel 4? Okay.
CNBC.
How about, we'll go Big House.
Big House. There you go.
Okay.
But, you know, guys, football season is coming.
Yeah.
With the Steelers and the college football games on the docket in a few weeks. So this thing's going to get resolved pretty soon. It's going to have to. You're going to have a lot of upset Steeler fans even this week, because I would imagine they're not going to settle before the first exhibition game. But you know, it's one thing to not air Hawaii Five-0, but quite another thing to have, you know, Pittsburgh DirecTV subscribers miss their Steelers. So this impasse is going to get settled soon. On that, I say book them, Dano. Book them.
Don't knock the 5-0, my friend.
I like the original 5-0. The remake, no, sir.
Not so much. I agree with you.
No, sir.
I agree. Gary.
All right, you guys are going to call me bitter. I'm predicting that over the weekend we will have a story from ESPN that involves bullying, unequal pay, you know, all kinds of other. I predict that we'll actually have a surprise in that. I have no sport where it'll come out of, but we'll have some discussion about it. Some article that they sold us ESPN Plus, saying you can pick and choose the content that you want, and then they bombard me with Brown's Feet and Kawi and whoever the hell it is having lunch in Los Angeles, you know, and share. Stick this stuff, get it out of my face. But I guarantee you that there'll be some article this week that'll involve MMA fighters talking about being bullied. How ironic is that? Okay. I mean, just think about how ridiculous some of this stuff is. You know, but I guarantee.
What lunch meat like thing is it?
It's baloney.
There we go.
Take your baloney and do what you want with
it. He takes a shot every time you say baloney.
I know he does.
Oh,
right.
All right.
But I mean, how many times are we going to get, you know, hammered by this stuff?
Yeah.
It's a sarcastic comment, but I mean, all right already. We got all the social stuff going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you just want games. That's what's. Yeah.
I just want the games, the analysis, and the results, and that kind of thing. So
absolutely.
What's going on in the CFL, Dave?
Oh my God, 4-0, 4-0. I'm on fire, my friend.
I'm telling you, Dave, you got to move to Canada.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this week, if you're home Friday at 7 p.m. and you have ESPN Plus and you can stay away from who's eating with who, you know, you can watch Saskatchewan and the Montreal Alouettes. Say something French, Fletch.
Avec.
Because even though Saskatchewan, as we deduced last week, is like Pittsburgh with steel mills and had John Hufnagel, they can't speak French there. They don't speak French.
No.
I'm not feeling French this week, okay? We're playing in Montreal. Do we play at Olympic Stadium Olympique?
No.
Do we play at Parc Jerry?
No.
No, tennis. They play tennis there.
Yeah. Can't remember the stadium.
Playing somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where they play. I know it's outdoors because when I watch them, there's lights, okay? I put lights in Olympic Stadium. They got a plug. They got like a drain plug on top of it to make it an indoor park. So, Alouettes de Montreal.
Avec
will defeat Saskatchewan.
That's a pretty big upset. That's a bold one. You sure you're fully comfortable with that? That's a bold one.
Fully comfortable. They will defeat them on their turf. French-Canadian turf is better than any turf in the world, okay? Something to it. Saskatchewan's not going to know how to play on that turf. I think they're particles of glass rather than rubber that keep it pure there. So I'm going to say Montreal makes me 5-0, defeats Friday night. Watch it on ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
And you see I turned 5-0. Late 5-0. That's French for 5-0.
You need to go on TSN because you're doing a lot better than the so-called experts.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, you're doing a lot better than
players. They may know the stats much better than I do. but they can't make the calls. Okay.
Apparently not.
Stats are overrated. Okay. Knowing the players is overrated. Do I know anybody on Montreal? No. Okay. No. But they're going to win. Okay. I don't know how I know, but I know. Trust me.
It's
okay.
Poutine talking.
The poutine! You can't get poutine in Saskatchewan. Poutine is Montreal.
You cannot.
Bet on the poutine. Anytime. Anytime. Do they put bologna in poutine? Fran, does that count?
I don't think so, no.
No, that doesn't count for Fran's drink?
No.
All right. Well, if you're in Pittsburgh,
I'm going to have to tune some
Noble, you come see me on Sunday from 1 to 3. I'll be there signing Pittsburgh's greatest athletes, and we will talk poutine if you show up. You show up, we'll talk poutine. We'll talk why poutine is better, and we will all love the language of poutine. You guys have a good night.
You too, David.
Nice.
All right. Nice evening.